was a busy Saturday for Penn State football. I'm Thomas Frankar, Ryan Snyder, recruiting reporter for Blue White Illustrated, here to tell you all about a trio of good news information items that dropped on Saturday. Primarily, though, this is a commitment video, and so we're going to focus mostly on that today. So, Ryan, appreciate you taking the time for us here. I'll start right off with this. Please subscribe to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. We're doing a giveaway right now by the Blue White game. We're going to pick 5 people who subscribe between now and the Blue White game and give away subscriptions to bluewhiteillustrated.com. All you have to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is absolutely free. Of course, if you want to skip the line and go right in to subscribing to bluewhiteillustrated.com so you get all the information, you can do that right now. Ryan, who committed to the Nittany Lions yesterday? Welcome to the video.
Busy day yesterday, man. We knew it was going to be their first big recruiting weekend, but I didn't see all that news coming out of it. And of course, we're going to start with Khalil Taylor, right? 2027 wide receiver from Seton LaSalle in Pittsburgh, PA. Terry Smith and well, I mean, Terry obviously oversees Pittsburgh, but just the whole recruiting staff just continue to absolutely crush it in Western PA. And this is one of their biggest commitments yet. Over the last couple of years. You guys see right there on the screen, ranked number 32 nationally in the industry rankings, which of course is, putting together On3 and 24/7 Rivals, ESPN, all these different sites, and number 16 overall nationally by On3. So we're talking about a potential 5-star player here. I'm going to always stress, these rankings will be updated. I think it's 8 more times before Khalil actually can sign in, what would it be, December 2026, right? So long way to go before we start talking to him as a true 5-star prospect. But whenever you're ranked as the number 2 wide receiver right off the bat, which is what On3 did just this past week, actually, when the On300 came out, it's a pretty good sign that you're going to stay fairly high in the rankings over the next year and a half. So we'll see if he ends up being a 5-star or a top 5 wide receiver, whatever it may be. But I don't think Penn State really cares about any of that because they know Khalil Taylor is a heck of a player. And this is a guy that they've been pursuing for quite some time now. And Khalil's going to end it early, which, it doesn't surprise me because of how well Penn State's done in Western PA, how consistently he's visited, all those types of things. But it also does surprise me a little bit just from the fact that he is believed to be such, one of the top overall players in the 2027 class. But hey, when you visit Penn State, was it 8 times over a year and a half or so? It's understandable why he would want to jump on board. And that 2027 class, by the way, all 3 guys are top 40 prospects at the moment, which, that certainly stands out. So I think Penn State's getting a heck of a player here, though. One of the most respected players in the WPIAL, had about 1,300 yards all purpose last year. And this is the thing, he's a wide receiver, right? But he does a little bit of everything. He's played quarterback. He's played running back. He's taken 2 kick returns back for touchdowns just this year. So this is a player that really is just kind of a do-it-all type of versatile playmaker, right? And Penn State and every team, wants those kind of players on their squad. So we're at a 4.440, by the way, too, out at Rutgers. Go ahead, T. Frank.
I was just going to say, before we get into that, the conversation we always have about guys who commit early in the process is, and you even said it here, a long way until he signs. But at the same time, the confidence that you feel of this being a Western PA guy, Penn State's success in Western PA, all of the things line up that this should be more of a Messiah Mickens recruitment, which we'll get to in just a moment, of a guy who commits very early and stays committed to the program and is, a core of the class. Because I think there is this also, the really early commitments also have that tendency to, we either forget about them or they tend to, lose some steam as we get closer. So you're just generally, and I'm not asking you to predict the future here, but the confidence level here is high that he becomes a Nittany Lion eventually.
I mean, Penn State's crushing it in Western PA, right? I mean, they haven't had really any real issues at all with those guys over the last couple of years. And, Terry Smith obviously oversees that area. I want to give a lot of credit to the recruiting staff as well. Of course, Marques Hagans is the position coach, and he played a big role in this as well. So, who knows what will happen long term? Certainly, Keemon Spell committed very early, Leighton Von Brand as well. But, everybody seems pretty firm from those 2 guys at least. And we'll see if, the Georgias and Alabama, some of these elite other programs come knocking and try and get them to visit down the road. But again, Western PA has been very good to Penn State. Not a lot of headaches and a lot of talent, right? Isn't that what you want when you're recruiting prospects? So History says it should be good, but time will tell. But I think either way, Penn State's incredibly excited to get Khalil Taylor on board.
So let's get into then the athleticism, because I think that's the story here. I'll follow up with some of the things I've seen from him on film in terms of like the positional fit and all those things. But athleticism seems like a guy who is like very, very athletic. If you're going to be potential 5-star as a sophomore, you probably have some special skills.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Like I said, 4.40. That's the only number. I don't believe he is camped at Penn State. So we know he did that at Rutgers. That's the one number that's been kind of shared publicly. But, I think as much as anything, talking about numbers and broad jumps and all those things, like I think he's just a very natural pass catcher, right? Just kind of comes very easy to him. I mean, two people who I trust as much as anyone when it comes to understanding Khalil Taylor would be Charles Power, right? Our scouting director at On3, and his head coach, Tim Storino. And both of them really gush about just his natural ability, to go up, time passes, all those sorts of things that you want to see in a player. One last thing I'll add too with Khalil is that he's very young for his age. I believe he's going to, he could be a freshman going into 10th grade year. But obviously he's going to be 10th grade going to 11th grade. So my point with that is there's a lot of meat still on the bone as far as how he could physically develop. And working with Charles over the years, I've learned a lot about how important they view age in a class. There's a lot of, players who are older, but, maybe in 11th grade, like Peter Bork, for example, he's going to be 18, I think, in a couple months, or he's much older than most of the 2027 guys. Well, Khalil Taylor is kind of the opposite, where he's going to graduate. I believe, I don't even know if he'll be 18 when he graduates, according to his coach. So my point there, just again, is he's really young for his age, and there's a lot of development still to come. But man, what you're already seeing from him, like I said, 4.40, he has a whole highlight tape just of touchdowns. I mean,
that's what we were pulling from. Yeah,
we don't see that all that often, especially from a sophomore. Sometimes you see it from the LaShawn McCoys of the world back in the day, running on Ryan over here, making me look stupid, but not normally as a sophomore. So I think that says a lot.
And I think the opportunity here is because he is a sophomore, because he's already one of these top players. He's very raw as a football player, route running, transitions, route stems. It's all, he's winning on athleticism and his ability. So there's only up to go, which of course is for a young guy. And one of the reasons I don't like to dig into guys that commit so early is because they're learning football for the first time right now. And you can see that on film, even in some of the highlights where he's just the best athlete on the field. And that's, I think, when you talk about these projections of players, you have the guys that you feel confident are all the things that make a 5-star. And those are guys that usually are the 5-star pluses. They have the athleticism. They show advanced maturity from a bunch of different ranges, including on tape. And then you've got guys that are 5-stars based on potential. And I think that he has the opportunity to be both at one point, but he is absolutely a guy that is going to be, from a talent perspective, I think we have him at nearly 6 feet, right? Already.
Yeah, 5'11". He's just, he should get up to 6. He's just a shade under right now. Yeah,
so 6 feet running with speed like that, having the ability to grow, everything, he checks all the boxes early on. And I think for a position like receiver, unlike maybe an offensive lineman where if you're big early, do you still have that athleticism growth? He's got the athleticism and the size at that age that I think translates better as you get older. And I don't see there's a lot to dig in here too, but it's all really, really good from Khalil Taylor, and a really strong position for Penn State to be in that receiver room rebuild now going into year 4, I believe it is. This would be the 4th recruiting class under Marques Hagans in 27. Or
I believe so. I'm not, buddy. I'm so frazzled. Yesterday was a day. We still got more news to talk about, right? But I'd have to check it. It's something like that, 3-4, something like that.
So, any other thoughts here on Khalil Taylor and where 27 is going before we get into the other things we're discussing here on this particular video?
Main thing would just be keeping momentum going in Western PA, right? Gabriel Jenkins is going to be another player that Penn State certainly covets out of there. He's at Amani Christian, of course, not at Seton LaSalle, but baby would get. I mean, I remember talking to a trainer out there a long time ago, and basically, I want to say this is about a year and a half ago, and basically the entire crux of the conversation was that everything is funneling towards Gabe Jenkins and Khalil Taylor being like the next two stud prospects to come out of there. And right now, Penn State has one of them. So we'll see what happens with Jenkins, and time will tell. But I think Penn State's incredibly excited. Again, 3 2027 commits. I know it's a long way to go, all of whom rank in the top 40, though. Man, that's a hell of a start.
Yeah. We'll see how all that unfolds, of course, here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel and at bluewhiteillustrated.com. Something we've been covering, and we're going to get to it here a little bit unorthodox. I always like to make these recruitment videos just about the athlete that we're talking about. But when you have news break in triplicates like it did yesterday on Saturday, we're recording this on a Sunday, you got to get to this news here in this particular forum, because it is very important. Messiah Mickens and Kemon Spell, the running backs, and this relates to class of 2027 as well. They also made announcements yesterday. So, Ryan, take us through what happened with Penn State's committed players on Saturday.
Yeah, shutting down the recruitments, right? I think Mickens is obviously, with him being the 2026 prospect, he's kind of been in the spotlight a little more as far as visiting other schools and whatnot. But Kemon Spell, admitted not that long ago that he was planning to go out to Notre Dame and a few other programs as well. So to get him and Messiah to shut down their recruitments, not take those visits after meeting with Stan Drayton yesterday for the first time, I think is very, very important for them. Look, Kemon Spell is one of those 2027 guys we're talking about, ranked number 1 in the country right now as far as the running backs go, and certainly has, maybe he doesn't stay number 1. I think there's a very good chance he'll be one of the top 5 running backs, is the least, as long as he keeps progressing and growing. So incredibly important recruit, Spell should be. But of course, Mickens is the older one, the one closer to enrolling and all that, and the one that was in the spotlight a little bit more, I think. So to get him to not go and take an official visit to Notre Dame, really important, because that relationship with J1 Slider was very important to him. More important than I realized, honestly, looking back on it. And I always thought about Jordan Hill and just the proximity to home, and even Franklin I thought was maybe a little bit more important than Slider. Just from different conversations over the last year and a half, I guess. But no, I was wrong with that. I mean, Slider was massively important, and Penn State's able to talk him out of taking that official visit. Big props to Stan Drayton. Mickens spoke really highly of just, he was flat out honest, saying like, look, we're still getting to know each other, but I couldn't have asked for a better start. I mean, this is a guy who's spending 3 nights a week, really diving in on his film and trying to help Messiah and give his impressions on different kind of things. Messiah was saying he was up in the last week, I think till 10 o'clock one night, somewhat recently, diving into his film and talking to Messiah about different kind of things. So I think Stan Drayton has done a really good job in a tough position, honestly, to keep to build that relationship rapidly, I guess is the best way to put it.
This is, can I jump in here? This is something we've seen go the other way with position coach changes as well. The receiver position, one of the issues, the reason we're talking about the rebound of the receiver position is because there was atrophy in some of those relationships. There was a slow start at certain points. To be able to maintain what J1 Slider had at the position while recruiting against J1 Slider feels like a big win for Penn State football.
For sure. I do want to give Franklin some credit there on that as well, because Messiah was really open about, sitting down with him and his dad and James in their office yesterday, and just really being open and honest about like, why has your mindset changed? Like, let's talk about this. Let's have a real discussion. And I think that really had a big impact on Messiah and his dad. And Messiah, I mean, the quote was like 3 minutes long. He just kept going on and on about, just the impact that James had during that discussion, and being able to follow up questions and things like that, and just always having a valid point, to at least Messiah and his dad's opinion, for why they need to stick with Penn State. So I think that conversation had a big impact. I think spending time with Stan Drayton obviously had a big impact. And of course, all the conversations over the last 2 months or so now. So, hey, big win for Penn State to keep Mickens on board, because they don't have to get another running back in this class. They certainly will recruit others. But if they did lose Mickens, it complicates things quite a bit as far as, being able to go out and pluck somebody else, because of Drayton's new, right? So like he has to not only figure out his board, but a lot of the guys that Slider was recruiting are kind of leaning towards Slider's way anyway, because it's a personal relationship with him more than Penn State. So I think it's a big win. And Spell too. Spell's going to be a heck of a player.
We're going to go into more detail. We're going to talk about this with Sean Fitz later on the BWI live show on Tuesday. If you're watching this before then, make sure you check us out on Tuesday live at 10 a.m. But of course, we want to make sure we get you this information when news breaks or within the time frame of getting you that information in a timely manner. And of course, we do that here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel with these breaking news videos, which you should subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you never miss any of these, because Ryan knows this. We are going into commitment season. Like, we're going to get here into spring. There's going to be news breaking from the recruiting front. The transfer portal is going to be heating up soon as well. We don't know what that will bring. So the best way to stay informed, bluewhiteillustrated.com, and of course here on the YouTube channel. And if you subscribe, you have the opportunity to get a free subscription to the site just by clicking that button. So we appreciate you being here. Ryan, thank you so much. We'll be back next time news breaks here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel.